Thank you for joining us as we go through the Unknown Child exhibit inside the DeSoto County Museum. We're standing here at what I call the map exhibit here. When I began my tenure here at the DeSoto County Museum and began to explore the horrors of the Holocaust, personally, I had no idea there were this many concentration camps. Like many, I thought, well, maybe 4, 5, something. But my goodness, apparently, Nazi Germany in the 1930s began planning all of this mass extermination that they planned for the Jewish people. So as we can see, there were many concentration camps. Morris Casey, who is from Walls, Mississippi. Morris Casey was a young soldier who would help liberate those terrible camps at Auschwitz. And a matter of fact, he is the impetus for this particular exhibit in here, as well as the inspiration from Doug Thornton, our architect, because Mr. Casey, being a soldier just doing his job, stumbled upon mass carnage. The children who were still living would be clinging to his legs. Just a memory that never left him. So he began about 70 years later, when he was getting close to 90 years of age, began to speak out to the school children of DeSoto County about the horrors of the Holocaust. And Susan Powell, who's one of our great teachers in our school system, began to speak to the children about the Holocaust, who really, the only knowledge that they had is maybe a paragraph, if that, in their school textbooks about the Holocaust. So they began to ask questions, and Mr. Casey was an invited guest and began to speak to the children. And before long, Ms. Powell embarked on the Penny Project, she and others, that raised money, raised 1.5 million pennies for each of the children. So get back here where you all can kind of see the maps a little bit and see the concentration camps. But it's really shocking and stunning, all of these concentration camps that were put in place in the late 1930s, and by 1945, 6 million would be exterminated, 1.5 million children. And so it's their memories that we seek to preserve and honor here inside the Unknown Child exhibit at the DeSoto County Museum. And as we take our walking tour, we're going to walk in the main part of the exhibit here in just a moment. The exhibit is open Tuesdays through Saturdays from 10 until 5 p.m. We enter through here, and of course this beautiful sculpture that you see here was designed by the sculptor Rick Weinecke. There's one in Israel, one in New York, and one right here in Hernando, Mississippi, just south of Memphis. So this beautiful sculpture here evokes a child, of course, at the point of their demise here on earth. But as you can see, the arm is reaching through to another realm, and a butterfly is pictured over here. Well, you can see it in this particular photograph, but you can't in the existing sculpture we have in here. The children who were captured behind barbed wire, they would see birds, they would see butterflies flying free, and it gave them hope that somehow they might be freed from the horrors of their existing circumstances as well. And as we go through, we see the mass rallies that were had in Nazi Germany that whipped up frenzy against the Jewish people. The Jewish people were blamed for everything: famine, the economy, everything. The Jewish people were the scapegoats, if you will, for the Nazi Germany regime in power at that time. We walk over here to the 1935 Nuremberg laws. These laws set in stone where Jewish people could go. Their property a lot of times was confiscated. A non-Jewish person would often run their company for them. They had to basically take a back seat, if you will, on public transportation. As a matter of fact, the Nazis later admitted their Nuremberg laws were based on the Jim Crow laws of the American South. And if you had a Jewish ancestor, of course, all the way back, and they kept the Nazi German regime was notorious for keeping excellent records and they would trace if you had a Jewish ancestor and you were denied certain liberties. So it's really horrific, but it is part of our history. And again, we hope that history does not repeat itself. And that is something that I know that the soldiers like Morris Casey, deep in their hearts, hope would never occur. And as you go through, you see almost like a hologram. You see the images of the children. You see a penny. The photographs are faded on purpose because these precious children, the attempts were made to wipe them from the face of the earth, and yet here they remain. And so we honor them. We honor them. We actually, you go through, and this is designed to look like the ghettos in Warsaw and other places where the Jewish people were herded before they were loaded onto the cattle cars and taken to their deaths. The pogroms were some of the great ethnic cleansings that happened in Europe, in Poland and other places in the Soviet Union. And literally, Jewish people were driven from their communities, herded into these ghettos, if you will, and that was just the stage before they were herded onto the cattle cars and taken to the concentration camps. And then Kristallnacht. Kristallnacht was the night that the synagogues were burned and set ablaze, windows were shattered, storefronts were defaced. It was a night of terror, and Kristallnacht actually means the night of shattered glass. And it will forever be just a horrific memory collectively for the Jewish people. Items like this, they were told to get their belongings, not so that they would have clothing and necessities of the concentration camps, but that the Nazis would be able to go through their valuable things and sell them. It's just horrific that they had no idea. They were greeted with false promises that work will make you free, and of course many were taken directly to their deaths. And we talk about the killing fields that occurred in the attack on the Soviet Union. They would murder many East European Slavs and Jewish people as well. Gypsies and others were also affected by these mass killings. And the medical experiments, very sadly. The Jewish children were held out for very cruel and inhumane medical experiments that we read about today. The hope is that never, ever will the world ever experience something as horrific as the Holocaust. Now, this is the crown jewel of the Unknown Child exhibit in Hernando. More than 36,000 pennies, part of the 1.5 million pennies collected to honor the 1.5 million children who perished during the Holocaust. And again, this beautiful, beautiful sculpture. And you see the butterfly. You see the butterfly in this beautiful bronze sculpture here. The butterfly symbolizes freedom. But you go through and you realize the enormity. And again, these are just 36,000 pennies here. But it takes your breath away, the scope and the breadth of the suffering that must have occurred during that time. This is the Unknown Child exhibit that is part of the DeSoto County Museum's temporary exhibit. It's been here about 3 years, and the plans are for it to be expanded at the site of the former Elvis Presley Circle G Ranch in the Horn Lake area. So we honor the efforts of Doug Thornton, the architect, and Diane McNeil and Susan Powell, and all of those who have given their time, their talents, and their energy to bringing this beautiful exhibit to life. Again, I'm Robert Long, curator of the DeSoto County Museum. We invite you to come by and see this really breathtaking, stunning, and profound exhibit that will change your life, along with the many other award-winning exhibits we have here at the DeSoto County Museum. We are located again at 111 East Commerce Street in Hernando, right off the interstate, exit 280. Please come and visit us soon.